Hi guys, I know it's been a while, but I tell myself I just have to give my report on Ecuador. I'm already left, I'm in a different country, but for the sake of perfect memory, I'm going to do it. So here, let's go. My name is Paula Simon, a believer who 25 plus years ago made a decision that changed my life, strengthened my faith, which led to a closer walk with God. On this channel, I encourage women to be more proactive in their life and embrace changes one step at a time. If you are new to the channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber and visitor, welcome also. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on the notification button so YouTube will inform you when a new video is uploaded. And also, I have to say thank you to the 100 subscribers. YouTube sent me the email with a lot of bubbles and confetti. But guys, you know I've been traveling, or who don't know, I've been traveling, moving from one place to the other. So although I saw it, it didn't really sink in. But I must say thank you. I have to check to see who is the person that made the 100. And when I do, if I get to do it before I put this video up, I will include it somewhere on the video at the bottom. If not, I will announce it later. Anyway, I came out of Ecuador, so I must give my Ecuadorian report. I will be talking about the people, the places that I did get to see, the reasons why I didn't move around a lot, and the food, and most importantly, if it's somewhere that I would live. So you have to wait until the end of the video to find out whether or not I will live there. All right, if you look at my previous video, when I reached Quito, I got sick. It's a sickness that someone mentioned it to me at the Miami airport. He said, oh, be careful of altitude sickness. But he didn't give like the symptoms or anything. So I came in, and as I said in my previous video, I got sick. I thought I was getting a heart attack. So for the first 5 to 6 days, and I would even say for my entire time that I spent in Quito, there was like 15 days, even when the feeling wasn't there that much, I still had this uncomfortable feelings, and most of all, like I was a bit scared of going out because I would be vulnerable. I can't speak the language, and then to get sick on the road, that was not good for me. So most of it I spent looking through the window of my hotel room, was on the 10th floor, looking down at the park, looking at all who passing, but I was not really out. I went out to places, I think, twice, and all was because of Camilla. She is someone that I met through another group, and it so happened we met in Ecuador, and she was planning trips, and she invited me along, and I went. And I was so grateful, because if it wasn't for her, guys, I would have had zero. Because, as I said, I wasn't going out. And then between the taxi driver and even at the hotel, they're telling you, don't have your phone out. Be careful with your phone would be snatched. So the usual thing that I will walk around and take out pictures, I didn't do any of that. I only did when I was out with Camila and we were like in a group where I felt more comfortable. Because look at it this way, if the people who live in there in Ecuador tell you to be careful, you can't say, well, okay, you think this is not going to happen or that is going to happen. You're going to just follow what the locals is telling you. So Ecuador in the initial was like that for me. I went out to a few places and things like that. The people, they seems to be friendly. One thing I find very interesting, they know you can't speak the language because you tell them. And based on your response facially and everything, they know you cannot understand them. But you know what? That does not stop them from speaking. You ask a question, they will continue, or they say, no Spanish. No, it doesn't stop them. I see in Turkey or in Portugal, persons will stop and then go and find. No, they will continue speaking. So I don't know what they're saying or what they're thinking. Perhaps they say, okay, eventually she will get it, or whether she understands or not, I will be speaking. So that is what I find. One of the things is that you did not find much people speaking English. even in like in the hotel, the few that will speak yet still take it. It could be me because I have an accent myself. So I don't know if they're not understanding because of my accent or the terminology or the words I would use. But even in the hotel, it was a challenge to find someone who could really and truly understand you. And I look at it this way. I am visiting Ecuador. And based on check-in, I don't see any sign where they invited me. I choose to visit their country. So I either know how to speak their language or not. That too had me not only with the altitude sickness and a feeling uneasy, but I didn't feel comfortable because 99.9% of the time I try to communicate outside of the hotel. I run into persons not understanding me, and then the few that will speak English, they could not understand what I'm saying. So that put a hamper. And as I said, even if I had felt different and I didn't get in this constant warning about not having my phone out, I might just walk around, make sure I have some water. I might choose whether or not I go and eat somewhere, and I would walk around and look at stuff. I did some sightseeing. I was able to get some pictures and take some photographs and record some videos, but not like how I usually do. And I would add them to this video, what I saw, right? In the case of food, I would say, for me in Ecuador, I will stick to the seafood because I went to high-end restaurants and I go to the little mom and pop places that they have meals serving, which you might pay like $3.99 for a meal. And they, for me, overcook any chicken and they overcook anything like pork. You will see they have like fried pork or pork chops. Even the lamb. We went to this restaurant, Pim's, I think you pronounce it, it's P-I-M-S. I was showed the photo. And they had, for starter, a great potato soup. And if I had any inklings, I would have stick to the potato soup and then skip to dessert. I would not have gone with the entree. It was lamb, and that meat was as hard as ever. And I mean to say, if you didn't eat lamb before and that was your first time, chances are you would not have eat lamb again. The taste was good. They had a nice sauce and everything, but the texture was tough. When you go to the restaurants, be it, as I said, low end or the high end, and you choose anything like fish, the fish is well cooked. It's not overcooked. The shrimp is not tough. I mean, it's just cooked enough. Everything is good. I went to another restaurant and I had octopus there. That was the first time for octopus, and that was good. That whole evening, I even had snail, as they call it, it's escogar, snail. Guyanese, we call it snail. I was a bit apprehensive, but I ate it. To me, it was more salty. I didn't find any, like any difference in the taste or anything like pop out with the taste. For the food, you could get food very, very cheap. As I said, they have these restaurants and they only serve during lunchtime. So you go in, I find the most in Manta. You go and you sit down. There isn't a menu. You sit down and they serve you whatever is on the menu for that day. And it will, sometimes you get a salad or you get a soup, then you got the entree, and then you will get a dessert. Some places you didn't get dessert, but it's relatively cheap. So if you just need something to hold you over until you get dinner later on, it is good to go to those places. So you had the opportunity, or you have the option, let me say, for you to decide how much money you would like to spend for lunch. So that will help you if you're traveling and to budget, it is good. But as I said, the chicken, one place I went to and they had chicken Parmigiana, there's chicken breast, and the breast was big, but it was very, very tasty, and the breast was moist. And it was surprising to have such a large piece of chicken breast, because chicken breast is something, you look at it too long and get dry. But such a large piece that was cooked perfect, and it was not dry. So I have to say, okay, that one place with the chicken, but every other place, not, right? I like a lot about their food. I see some of the ingredients, these ingredients that I grew up with, especially in Quito. They use a lot of lime. They have a way of squeezing lime juice in their soup, which is something I will be taking with me wherever I go. If I have access to lime, squeeze it in my soup, which is good. They have a lot of vegetables and things like that. I didn't go to the supermarket because I didn't stay like in an Airbnb, I stay in a hotel. I didn't go to the supermarket to check out the prices. But I think with everywhere else, there's always, especially if you become a local, you will be able to figure out where you will get things cheaper as against there. They have a lot of pharmacies around. You see a lot of banks. They got endless restaurants. And I thought Portugal had no. And as I walk, the same feelings I had with Portugal is how they are able to maintain these businesses, because there's so many and it's one next to each other. So not to say you find one on this street and you got to walk 2 streets over. Nope. It is near to each other. So there's the only thing running through my head, how they're able to maintain it. But you see a lot of locals there. So I guess the people in the community will keep their restaurant afloat because they're locals. They're there, you know, the certain time, and they have no space for you as a foreigner or anything like that. You got to figure out the space. No, you're not going to find it empty. It is full of locals. So the food, I will give it 10 if it's seafood. If you're trying anything else, llama or anything, I'm giving it an 8. Although they had the Parmesan chicken breast, which was good, it is still getting an 8 because the majority of them was very dry. Take note, the sauce or anything it in is very tasty. It's just the meat that is dry. So I guess this is the way they cook it. It is not the way that I accustomed to cooking meat or how I would like it. But I guess this is the way they eat it. So that's good for me. In the case of, let me see, seeing anything to buy, they had a whole lot of souvenirs and things like that. Sightseeing, I know, as I said, I went on with Camilla, and I'm certain there were others, but I did not pay attention to anything like that. So I said for Quito, it is good. You see the high-end places, you're seeing there's a lot of construction. You find people, you know, going through hardship, just like any other country and part of the world. I don't know where don't have beggars or people who in need or things like that, right? So you see them a lot. They will be in restaurant and you see a lot of kids doing it. Some cases, I just don't know if begging, as we will call, has become a profession. Because really and truly, they have people in America, and I could remember my father talking about this man, that was since in the 60s. He used to sit outside of the post office and beg. And at the end of the day, he'd take the money, put it in the post office bank, and then he traveled to another part of Guyana and live. He had a great home, everything. But he find begging as a way of making money. So they might have people there who are in dire straits. There's no if, but, or maybe about it, because as I said, poverty is around the world. It's in America, it's in every other where, right? But I don't know if all of them that are begging is because they really need it, or it is just their job. So there's a difference. If it's your job, or you're just begging because you really need it, you might just realize that you earn more instead of going 9 to 5 or whatever is their working hours, dealing with a supervisor, you got to dress a certain way, you got commitment, as against standing in a corner and put your hands out, especially with children, and you earn money. So you see that a lot. They would even approach you in the restaurants and you just say no, you know, and they have kids, and the children looking very, very young in age because they're tiny, right? So you're seeing adults, you're seeing children, sometimes you see an entire family, a husband or a male or female and children, they're begging. So it is that, but to me, I don't find it like aggressive. You just say no and then they walk off. I never find one that you say no and they still insisting on standing there. I never experienced that. Who knows, they might have, but I personally didn't experience it. So I didn't, like, really, truly, I see it. It didn't bother me because I understand it. I understand there's a need and there's the only way some people will able to make it. And to me, it more reflect on the government than it reflect on the people. Let's be honest. Because anyway, we're getting into politics. But to me, when you see that, it is not a good sight for the people who are in charge. Even if they don't see it that way, they say, because they are the ones who can make decisions, right? There are many buses. You can't figure out which one. I was point out which one is the public bus, like minivan that they will have in any part of New York, right? And they have the official buses. They're all blue. I guess you have to be there for a while to figure out which is one. But you could tell the ones that are minivan, these are big buses. They're ruthless in the way they drive. You find them down jostling each other in some narrow, narrow streets that is two ways. I don't know who said it could be two ways. So you will find the buses juggling. So I didn't go in the buses. As I said, I already feeling very fluent in Spanish, which made me feel not so good because the people can't understand me. And no way in hell was I going on the buses. So most of the time they were always packed. I didn't go on the buses, but they're there. There's no shortage of finding a taxi. And the taxi fare is relatively cheap. Like you're driving forever and it's $2.50. So you could afford to use a taxi without really messing up your traveling budget, right? That was in Quito. Manta had it. I went out more, not on tour, but like walking around the place in Manta. This is where I go to the grocery store and I bought bread and all that sort of thing. I went down to the seaside. They have like a whole perma and trees and people sitting out there. I did a lot of walking around there. They too, they have the places where you could go and get a midday lunch. And after midday, some places after breakfast, they stop sell. Or they will just sell for lunch and then they stop. You know, sometimes we see restaurants like Hope nowadays. No, they have quite a few, either for lunch, either for breakfast or for lunch, and then they close, right? So in Manta, I use an Airbnb. And guys, okay, talking about Airbnb and even hotels, there will have to be a separate video altogether about accommodation in these places because regardless how much you check, there's always some level of foolishness going on. So I didn't stay in a hotel in Manta. I stay in Airbnb. We'll talk about that. But that is where I went out more. I observed the culture more, especially in the shopping districts and watching at how things do. A lot of times I would just put in my hands out with the money and let the people take the money. I don't know if I get jib or not, but really and truly, it wasn't that much. They're saying one thing and they insist in speaking, repeating it to me, not insisting, because they're repeating it to me and I'm clueless. So after a while, I start putting out my money to go through and take out whatever pennies. And sometimes they take 50 cents and they're coming back and giving me change. Who wants change on 50 cents? I will leave it with them. So that's how it was with Manta. I was lucky to reach with Jewel Wren, and she invited a few other expats there. Not expats, people who are expats. I'm not no other expat, at least as yet. So we had a great lunch. We went back to Jewel's place, and it was so beautiful. She's right on the ocean. Oh my gosh, the breeze. It was nice. And I was so grateful that she extended that invitation and she included other women. And I could say I get some new friends, right? So whenever I will have some new friends. So Manta was great. Again, with the food, we went to this restaurant. I think it's an Italian restaurant. They had oxtail, but the oxtail was still a little tough. It was better than the lamb that we had at the other place because that one, I ate more of the sauce and leave the meat right there. This one's a bit better. But again, it needed about 4 to 5 more minutes in the oven or the pot or wherever it is to get it really tender. But even if the meat wasn't tender, the atmosphere was good because it had persons there and I learned so much. And it was so much of fun. Then we went back to Jewel's place and we had a great time. Manta was great, post with all this. So for food, yes. Because as I said, I will keep away from the chicken, or when I want to eat chicken, cook it myself. Right? The food is good. The people is warm and they continue speaking, although you know you can't understand them. The weather is great because even if it rains, I come from a country where it rains. I'm a Guyanese. Sometimes it rains in the morning and in the midst of you drenched with the rain, the sun come out. right? So the weather was good. If you look at the cost of living for someone who is earning like US dollars, or someone who's like getting a pension, or to have their own money, you could really live comfortable. Because while on one of the trips, the tour guide, she was saying, oh, if you want to live here in the cheap place, it's 250 US dollars a month. But if you want to pay more and it's more expensive and you waiting to hear 900 or so, no, the more expensive place is 550 and it have more gated and things like that. So if you really look around, and most naturally, they have a lot of places where foreigners is coming in, be it an American or a Canadian or some other European person who have pension and things like that. They will still have places people want to charge you $1,500 or $1,700 a month. But $1,700 a month for those places as against a $1,700 a month place in New York is vastly different. Their $1,700 place in Ecuador is a $35 or a $4,500 place in New York, right? Even in Brooklyn. Don't let me even go to Manhattan. That's completely out. So if you compare it, it's still pennies. But if you go in there and you have a limited amount of funds, or you just want to keep on a certain budget, you could find places, you know, that is far cheaper than that. So from a financial standpoint, weather-wise, food, any Guyanese listen to that, you will know BOYA. You see the BOYA, the ones that we like to put in chow mein, those nice, fine green BOYA. Oh my gosh. If you see these big bundles, and this thing was like 50 cents, take it from me. If they would have allowed me to move it out of the country, especially if I was going straight back to America, half of my suitcase would have been BOYA. These BOYA, and they cut it up and put it in the salad. So for me, food-wise, everything. Would I visit Ecuador again? Yes. How I would visit it? If I really plan, I would start looking into just, I know like gracias is thank you, some basic words, but then also I would be looking for someone. If I'm spending 2-3 months in Ecuador, I will be looking for someone who could teach me Spanish there. Because as I learn a new word, with my perfect memory, I would need to practice it the next day. I can't afford to wait 3 months after to practice it, no. So as I learn words, I could then go into the supermarket or go anywhere else and practice, right? So I would go back to Ecuador, prepare for the altitude sickness, make sure that I rested, I will get on my little cocoa tea, leaf tea, and tell myself for the first 2 or 3 days, I'm just keeping still, see how much I could sleep to get myself ready for the altitude. I would go back and visit Ecuador again. Would I live in Ecuador? Yes, I would, because I could see myself maneuvering there and figuring out whatever is the culture. But overall, the place don't come with this mean feelings. There would be some misunderstanding because you're learning someone else's culture. But you don't get the feeling of the place being mean, right? So would I live there? Yes. Would I visit Ecuador again? Most certainly. So guys, that is my report on Ecuador. If you had visited before, please comment in the section below. If you're thinking about it, research it. I am certain, especially if you go with an open mind. Don't, it's supposed to be like this, where I come from. No, you go to another country, respect the culture, understand that they don't have to know to speak English. You have to know to understand them. It's plain and simple. They're not visiting where you are, you're visiting them. So if you have the open mindset, everything becomes easy. So I had a great time indirectly, because as I said, I didn't have to make up my own bed. The hotel had great food, had the executive lounge upstairs to go to and get my snacks, minus my plantain chips. There's another problem, right? And I overall had a great time in Ecuador. So I don't know what you're doing this week. I hope you're planning in some little way to make a change in your life. Get to all those papers that you need to shred, follow up on a report, contact someone that you're really planning to talk to, but you keep forgetting. Do something different. Push yourself this week and embrace changes, right? Guys, I reached 100 subscribers. I don't think I checked. I didn't think it moved more than that. So I'm asking for your help for me to reach the 200. Okay, if you had subscribed before, please pass it to your cousin or your cousin and your granddaughter, your grandson, not your son, grandson, your granddaughter, and who else you could talk to, right? Help me get to 200. I will really appreciate it. So guys, my next video would be on my little moving around through Munich and so forth. I think they need a little special video. And also, I will be commenting again about accommodation. Oh, it is ridiculous. Anyway, you guys have a great week. And by the time you see this video, it will be the weekend after the women's conference here in Tbilisi. And I will be telling you guys about that. So take care and have a blessed day and a blessed week. Bye.